Alright, I am going to record section 2.3, and the objective is apply deductive reasoning. Apply deductive reasoning. You already know what inductive reasoning is. Let's compare the two. Deductive reasoning uses facts, definitions, properties, and laws of logic to form an argument. Uses facts, definitions, properties, laws of logic, this is and laws of logic, to form an argument. Okay, versus inductive reasoning has three parts to it. One, you are going to observe data. Watch what's going on. Observe data. Secondly, you're going to recognize a pattern. Recognize a pattern. And thirdly, you are going to then make a conjecture. Making a conjecture is like making a hypothesis. Alright, an example of each of these. An example of deductive reasoning would be, according to school policy, if it rains in the morning, then the baseball games are canceled. If it rains in the morning, I'll put in the AM, comma, then the baseball games are canceled. Okay, so here's what we know. We have the baseball game was not canceled, so what do we know? The baseball game was not canceled. So we're waiting to figure out this logically. What can we say? So it did not rain this morning. This AM. So if we base it on deductive reasoning, we know there's a fact that this is a school policy, if it rains in the morning, the baseball games are canceled. Now, the baseball game was not canceled, so reversing that, then it did not rain in the morning. Alright, giving an example of the inductive reasoning would be, when Tom eats strawberries, oops, that's not spelled right, eats, let's try back up the truck here. When Tom eats strawberries, he has a mild reaction. Alright, so here we go on our scenario. The next time Tom eats strawberries, then what's about to happen? Then we feel that Tom is going to have a reaction. Then Tom has a reaction. Alright, now the reason that this is inductive reasoning is there is no fact. This is just found over time, a pattern of every time Tom's eating strawberries, he has some kind of reaction. He's noticing this. He's developing a pattern, and so there's his conjecture. But there is no fact. Tom has not gone to the doctor to confirm allergies of strawberries. So there's no known allergy. by a doctor. That's a doctor. So you don't have a fact, so therefore it's not deductive reasoning. Okay, now we have two types of logic. There's the law of detachment versus the law of syllogism. We are going to start with the law of detachment. So its definition is if the hypothesis is true, then the conditional statement is true. So if hypothesis true, then you have your conditional statement being true. Oh. Let me restate that. If the hypothesis is true, then the conclusion is true. So we have a true statement for the hypothesis and a true statement for the conclusion. So an example would be you have if two angles are right angles. Let me say that again. If two angles are right angles, then they are congruent. Alright, so there's my statement, and I'm going to go on to say, here I have, if angle C and D are right angles, I'm just going to say it outright. Angle C and angle D are right angles. Then, what can you conclude? We'll go back up to your statement up here using the law of detachment. If our hypothesis is true, then our conclusion will be true. So here's our hypothesis. If two angles are right angles, and if we have right angles, which this is saying we do have right angles, C and D are right angles, well then we can conclude that they are congruent. So in this case, we are going to say then angle C is congruent to angle D. So that's what we're able to conclude using the law of detachment. So it starts with the hypothesis being true, and then we can go on to say the conclusion is true. If we use this law of syllogism, actually I said that wrong before, syllogism, it's a soft G. What we are saying with the law of syllogism is if P implies Q and Q implies R, then P is going to imply R. So we have this like connector going on here. So it's three parts. And here's what I have for our example. If x cubed equals 8, then y equals 2. If y equals 2, then 3y plus 4 equals 10. So I'm going to go on to state here, if y cubed equaled 8, okay, I've got to back this up. This should have been a y cubed. In the beginning we have if y cubed equals 8, then y equals 2. And we go on to say if y equals 2, then 3y plus 4 equals 10. And now we're going to say, for our final summary, if y cubed equals 8, then 3y plus 4 equals 10. And this is a true statement due to the law of syllogism. This is what I can conclude due to the law of detachment. Okay, we'll have to practice more of that. Let's go to the back of your sheet, and I'm going to have this being done on part 2.